Tonight, Tech Solutions. The CPC sets up a fuel availability website to try and reduce queues.
This application will give the information about browser dispatches as well as fuel availability in the filling station.
Going local. A maximum retail price has been set for local white and red rice from yesterday. Power play. Cope wraps the CEB for buying power from the Amidipitia power plant at high prices despite having broken even. Glimmer of hope. The UK relaxes its previous essential travel-only advisory ahead of the summer season. All this and much more coming up tonight on First at 9 this Saturday, the 11th of June 2022.
Tomex. Fellam sa visibiti අවම කර දින 3ක් දක්වා ටොයිලට් එක ෆ්‍රෙෂ් ව තමයි. Tomex.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening, you're watching First at 9 with me, David Ebert. As a remedy for the current fuel crisis in the country, the Information and Communication Technology Agency, along with the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, has set up a website that allows the public to check on the availability of fuel in refilling stations in their areas. The ICT has stated that the site fuel.gov.lk can be used by the public to find out if a particular type of fuel is available at a refilling station. However, they caution the public to be mindful about the updates of the information available on the site.
A new website has been launched by the Information and Communication Technology Agency, along with the Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminal and Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, as a solution to the long fuel queues. The website fuel.gov.lk can be accessed by the public through their phone or computer. The public will be able to use the site to search for refilling stations that have been restocked with the type of fuel they are looking for in their area. According to the ICTA, the information on the site can be received through SMS as well.
This is the first iteration of the application, and we plan to do another release within next couple of weeks. This application will give the information about browser dispatches as well as fuel availability in the filling station. The application is updated in the morning hours and the data is sent from CPSTL. The information which is shown is the opening capacity or the opening stock of a filling station, which is updated in the morning hours. Afterwards, we don't get any data from CPSTL. We have to be very mindful about the last updated time, which is shown on the website. Also, it is important to understand that website will not show any real-time data. Rather, it will show the morning opening stock. So the differentiation between this application and other application is that we get information from a verified source or the authority, which means CPSTL. So we can provide accurate information to the citizens. Once you search, in the search results, there are two criteria which helps us to list out the filling station. First one is whether the particular shed has a pumping capacity. Second one is that whether a browser is dispatched. So if these two criteria are matched, a filling station will be appeared in the search. If these two criteria are not met, the particular filling station will not appear in the search results. In the detailed view, we are sharing the information about the shed along with the address, the available fuel type and dispatches for the day for the fuel types. And the last one, we show the location in the Google map where a citizen can open it on a Google map to navigate.
Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara, taking to Twitter, thanked the ICTA for developing the fuel management information system, but stated that it will take a few more days to get all the technical and other requirements available on the site. In the meantime, the Ceylon Petroleum Private Browser Owners Association gave an update today on the number of filling stations that fuel is being distributed to and the capacity of browser distribution today.
ඉන්ධන පිරුම් හල් 1300ක් පමණ තියෙනවා සිපෙට්කෝ ආයතනයේ. එයින් ඉන්ධන පිරුම් 400කට පමණ තමයි දිනකට ඉන්ධන ලබා දෙන්නේ. ඒ අනුව අපගේ ටැංකි රට 125ක 30ක ප්‍රමාණයක් තමයි ධාවනය සිදු කරන්නේ. නිකුත් කිරීමේ අඩුවක් තියෙන නිසා තමයි ටැංකි රට යනුම් ලැබීමේ අඩුවක් තියෙන්නේ.
Meanwhile, on the domestic LP gas front, Litrogas Lanka Limited once again today urged people to not form queues for LP gas cylinders as distribution has been halted. A vessel with 3,900 metric tons of gas has been anchored off the coast of the country for 4 days straight. The company states that this is because it has not been able to pay the $2.5 million required to make the purchase. However, despite this announcement, people continued to stay in lines expecting for gas to be issued.
Meanwhile, it was revealed during yesterday's meeting between the Committee on Public Enterprises and the Ceylon Electricity Board that the CEB had continuously purchased power for higher prices from the ACE power plant located in Amblipitia. It was revealed that the CEB continuously included the capital cost into the purchase of a unit of power, even though the total capital costs have been completely recovered in 2015 by the CEB.
The Ceylon Electricity Board was summoned before the Committee on Public Enterprises yesterday. It was revealed at the meeting that even though the amount invested in the Amblipitia ACE power plant has been recovered by 2015, payments for a unit of electricity had been made according to an old price formula, continuously including the amount invested every time electricity was purchased thereafter.
දැන් කැපිටල් කොස්ට් එක ඒගොල්ලෝ රිකවර් කරගෙන ඇතිනේ ඔය ප්ලාන්ට් එක නේද? ඔය ප්ලාන්ට් එකෙන් අවුරුදු කීයක් ගත්තද ඔය කට්ටිය?
2005 සිට 2015 දක්වා අපි මුල් ගිවිසුම තිබුණා.
එතකොට කැපැසිටි චාර්ජ් ඒ කියන්නේ කැපිටල් කොස්ට් එක සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම ගෙවලා ඉවරයි.
ඔව්.
හැබැයි දැන් හරි දැන් 2022 නේ. හැබැයි දැන් කියනවා මේ 95යි 90 ඇතුලේ කැපැසිටි චාර්ජ් එකකුත් තියනවලු එනර්ජි චාර්ජ් එකකුත් තියනවලු.
ඒකේ අපිට 101.716ක් තියෙනවා දැන්.
නෑ එහෙනම් 95යි 20යි
නෑ මේ අපිට
PUSL එකෙන් දුන්නේ
PUSL එකෙන් අපිට දීලා
මාසෙට අපි මිලදී ගන්න ඇඹිලිපිටිය ACE එකෙන් යුනිට් එකක්
101.716
කැපැසිටි චාර්ජ් එකෙන් 195ක්ම චාර්ජ් කරනවා ඊළඟ ඒවාදී.
what? ඒක
වැරදි නම් නිවැරදි කරන්න.
GM ඔව්
දැන් ඒක තමයි 195 කැපැසිටි. එතකොට
කැපිටල් ඉන්වෙස්ට්මන්ට් එක වෙනකොට තනිකරම ඒගොල්ලෝ රිකවර් කරගෙන ඉවරයි. ඒ නිසා ඒකට කම්පෝනන්ට් එකක් ඇඩ් වෙන්නේ නැහැ කැපැසිටි චාර්ජ් එක.
එහෙනම් මේ 195ක් කියලා කිව්වේ?
දැන් ඔය ඇඹිලිපිටිය සහ මාතර කියන දෙක ගත්තේ නැත්නම් එහෙම දකුණු පළාතේ
දෙන්න බෑ.
පවර් කට් එක පැය 10ක් දක්වා වැඩිවීමේ අවදානමක් තිබුණා. එම නිසා අපි තීරණය කරා මම දන්නේ බෝඩ් එකත් තීරණය කරා ලේසිමටම කරන්න පුළුවන් ඉක්මනින්ම මේක ගන්න අවශ්‍යලා තිබුණා. මොකද අපිට ටෙන්ඩර් කැඳවලා කරන්න විදියක් නැහැ. ඒක නිසා තමයි ඇත්තටම අර ඉස්සෙල්ලා තියෙන ගිවිසුමම එක්ස්ටෙන්ඩ් කරා ඒගොල්ලොත් එක්ක සාකච්ඡා කරලා.
මේ ACE power එකෙන් කොච්චර යුනිට්ස් ප්‍රමාණයක් දැන් ගන්නවද?
40ක්. යුනිට් මිලියන් 40ක්.
60ත් අතර ගන්න.
යුනිට් මිලියන් 50ක් කියමු සභාපතිතුමා. එතකොට යුනිට් මිලියන් 50කට මේ රුපියල් 6 වෙනස තියන්න.
ඔව්.
එතකොට කීයද? 50 වැඩි කියලා රුපියල් මිලියන 300න්නේ. ඕගොල්ලෝ කියන ගානයි මේගොල්ලෝ කියන ගානයි වෙනස්. මේ ඔඩිට් එක කරන්න අපි ACE power එකට විතරක් නෙමෙයි. මේ ඔඩිට් එක කරන්න ඔක්කොම power plants වලට රටේ තියෙන ලොකු චෝදනාවක් තමයි මේ අඩු ගණන් වලට ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙලාවල් තියෙද්දි ඒවට වැඩිපුර මිල ගෙවනවා කියලා.
Meanwhile, the Committee on Public Enterprises has also revealed that 35 university lecturers who have left the country on study leave from the University of Moratuwa are in arrears to the tune of nearly 52 million rupees due to breach of contracts and bonds. Speaking before the committee, the Vice-Chancellor of the Moratuwa University revealed that 5 payments have already been recovered, but 12 more still need to be recovered in installments.
The Committee on Public Enterprises met with the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Moratuwa and other officials last week to examine the Auditor General's reports for the years 2019 and 2020 and the current faculty's performance. At the meeting, the committee revealed that 35 university lecturers who had left the country on study leave at the University of Moratuwa alone were found to be in arrears to the tune of nearly 52 million rupees as of 31st December 2021 due to the breach of contract and bonds. It was also revealed that the total amount due from 16 lecturers who had breached their contracts and bonds for 8 years was 23,190,595 rupees. Responding to the issue, the university's Vice-Chancellor said that so far only 5 of the amounts in arrears had been recovered, while 12 are to be recovered in installments. He also revealed that legal action has been filed against 11 persons. In addition, discussions were also held with regards to the LK Domain Registry, a company established under the University of Moratuwa. There was a lengthy discussion on the loss of ownership of this company, which was registered as a company owned by the University of Moratuwa on the 5th of March 2004. Accordingly, COPE Chairman Professor Charitha Herath recommended that the LK Domain Registry be treated as a national value institution and that its ownership be transferred back to the University of Moratuwa.
Now, Sri Lanka has received further assurances of assistance from the Chinese government in the past few days. This includes assurances to jointly tackle risks and challenges and help the island overcome its difficulties, ease its debt burden, and realize sustainable development. This was stated by Director General of Asian Affairs at the Chinese Foreign Ministry, Liu Jinsong, when he met with Sri Lanka's ambassador to Beijing, Dr. Paritha Kohana, on Thursday.
Last Thursday, Director General of the Department of Asian Affairs at China's Foreign Ministry, Liu Jingsong, met Sri Lanka's ambassador in Beijing, Dr. Paritha Kohana, for a candid and in-depth exchange of views on Sri Lanka's economic and financial debt issues. At the meeting, Liu expressed China's willingness to work with Sri Lanka to carry forward the spirit of the Rubber Rice Pact, categorized by independence, self-reliance, unity, and mutual support. This would also include the advancement of China's Belt and Road Cooperation and the implementation of a global development and security initiative for the creation of a better future for the two countries, he said. During the talks, Liu added that the reasons for developing countries, including Sri Lanka, to fall into debt difficulties are very complex. He explained that this includes the implementation of quantitative easing policies, irresponsible unleashing of strong stimulus policies, and the raising of interest rates by developed countries that have led to shrinking balance sheets. Further, Liu also pointed out to the imposition of unilateral sanctions and tariff barriers as well, and the forming of small cliques which have undermined the security of global supply and industrial chains and fueled the soaring prices of energy, food, and other commodities. This, he said, had worsened the economic and financial situations of developing countries, including Sri Lanka. Liu stated that China fully relates to the current difficulties faced by Sri Lanka and has always provided assistance within its capacity, including with the immediate provision of 500 million yuan of emergency humanitarian assistance. Liu told the Sri Lankan envoy that China is ready to continue to work with Sri Lanka to jointly tackle risks and challenges and help the island overcome its difficulties, ease its debt burden, and realize sustainable development. Liu expressed hope that the wise and tenacious Sri Lankan people will stick to the independent domestic and foreign policies and overcome difficulties together with confidence and in solidarity. Meanwhile, China's ambassador in Colombo, Shi Zhenghong, participated in the first-year commemoration of the China-Sri Lanka Friendship National Nephrology Specialized Hospital in Polonnaruwa today. According to the tweet by the Chinese embassy, to date a total of 3,010 admissions, 20,784 dialysis, 18,045 patient visits, and 65,516 laboratory tests have been carried out since it was opened to the public on the 11th of June 2021. Sri Lanka received the hospital complex as a full grant from the Chinese government at the request of former President Maithripala Sirisena during his visit to China in 2015. Built at a cost of 12 billion rupees, the hospital consists of 5 operating theatres with modern facilities for kidney transplants and can accommodate 200 in-house patients. It also includes a dialysis unit equipped with 100 machines, a clinic complex for kidney patients, state-of-the-art laboratories, radiation and CT scan services as well. At the annual review conference of the hospital, Ambassador Shi announced that 500,000 renminbi in medicines will be donated to the hospital by the Chinese Foreign Ministry soon as well. Meanwhile, the Chinese envoy met with former President Maithripala Sirisena at his residence in Polonnaruwa. During the meeting, the Chinese ambassador requested former President Sirisena to take an active contribution to the country as a mature leader to overcome the current crisis. Ambassador Shi also promised to extend further assistance to Sri Lanka, including the donation of a stock of rice and essential medicines.
And we'll be back with more stories after this short break. Do stay with us.
Big 3.
Welcome back. Now, rice mill owners today called for the government to implement a mechanism that would ensure that all stocks of paddy currently in the possession of farmers and traders are brought into the market. The mill owners claim that paddy prices have risen in the country due to traders hoarding their stocks. They added that the imposition of a maximum retail price on local red and white rice is not the solution to the problem as well.
According to the Gazette notification issued by the Consumer Affairs Authority on the 2nd of May, a maximum retail price of 1 kilogram of nadu rice has been priced at 220 rupees, samba rice at 230 rupees, and kiri samba at 260 rupees. However, a maximum retail price was not placed on red and white raw rice. However, with effect from yesterday, the maximum retail price of white and red raw rice was set at 210 rupees. The maximum retail price was brought into effect last night through a Gazette notification published by the Consumer Affairs Authority. With this being the case, the Medium and Small Scale Rice Mill Owners Association of the Anuradhapura district pointed out that paddy prices have only increased because traders have hidden their stocks.
ලංකා ඉතිහාසයේ පළමු වතාවට වී මිටියක් සඳහා වන මිල රුපියල් 10000ක් දක්වා ඉහළ ගිහිල්ලා තියෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ වී කිලෝ එකක් සඳහා මිල රුපියල් 150 අභිබවූ මිලක් දක්වා පත් වෙලා තියෙනවා. මේ තත්ත්වය තුල සුළු හා මධ්‍ය පරිමාණ වී මෝල් හිමියන් වන අපට සහල් කිලෝ එකක් නිෂ්පාදනය කරලා වෙළඳපොළට ලබා දෙන්න පුළුවන් මිල බවට පත් වෙන්නේ රුපියල් 260. මේ තත්ත්වය තුල පාරිභෝගිකයාට දවන විට හාල් කිලෝ එකක් 280ත් 300ත් අතර මිලකට හාල් ගන්න සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා. මේ ආණ්ඩුවට අපි යෝජනා කරනවා තව මාස කීපයකට මේ රටේ ජනතාවට අවශ්‍ය කරන වී සංචිත ප්‍රමාණය රට තුල තිබෙනවා. රජයේ වී ආල මණ්ඩලය සතුව මෙට්‍රික් ටන් 40000කට ආසන්න ප්‍රමාණයක් වී තියෙනවා. අනිත් පැත්තෙන් අපේ රටේ ප්‍රධාන එක් වී මෝල් කර්මාන්තකරුවෙක් සතුව මෙට්‍රික් ටන් 70000කට ආසන්න වී ප්‍රමාණයක් තිබෙනවා. ඒ වගේම මධ්‍යපාන්තික ගොවීන් ළඟ සැලකිය යුතු වී ප්‍රමාණයක් තියෙනවා. අපි දන්නවා අතරමැදි තොග රැස් කරන්නන් ගව යම් වී සංචිත ප්‍රමාණයක් තිබෙනවා. අපි ආණ්ඩුවට යෝජනා කරනවා ඇත්තටම මේ අපි කියනවා තොග සංගවලා තිබෙන්නේ. කරුණා කරලා මේ වී තොග රටේ විවෘත වෙළඳපොළට එන්න ක්‍රමවේදයක් සකස් කරන්න. වී තොග සංගවා තබාගෙන සහල් සඳහා පාලන මිලක් දෙවීමේ කිසිම තත්ත්වයක් වැඩක් නැහැ ඒක.
Now, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has called for a study to be carried out on ways to make the country's public sector more efficient and to increase employee satisfaction. Speaking to officials of the Ministry of Public Administration, he also urged the decentralizing of major government institutions to the provinces to reduce the need for the public to travel into Colombo.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa says that a formal study should be carried out on the country's public sector to bring about a quality service and increase employee satisfaction. The president stated this at a discussion held with officials of the Ministry of Public Administration and Home Affairs yesterday. Minister of Public Administration and Home Affairs Dinesh Gunawardena and other officials of the ministry were present at the discussion held at the president's house. During the discussion, the president pointed out to the need to consolidate government institutions in order to provide a uniform service. President Rajapaksa also stated that decentralizing major government institutions in the capital to the provinces could help in reducing the need for public servants to travel into Colombo. Discussions were also held on expediting disciplinary inquiries regarding public servants and drafting plans to get the maximum output from public servants. It was also decided at this meeting to launch the Apivavamu National Food Security Program jointly with the Ministries of Public Administration and Agriculture.
Now, the UK's Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office has relaxed its previous travel advisory to Sri Lanka, where it urged only essential travel due to the political and economic instability in the country. This comes as good news for the tourism sector that is expecting much from the summer travel season that is set to begin in July.
The Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office has relaxed its advice for visiting Sri Lanka and no longer warns against all but essential travel. Last month, the FCDO said people should only travel to Sri Lanka for essential purposes due to the ongoing political and economic instability. The advice against non-essential travel has now been lifted, although the economic situation in Sri Lanka is still described as challenging. The advice states that there may be long queues at shops, at supermarkets, fuel stations and pharmacies, and difficulties or delays obtaining taxis and other public transport. Further, it also warns of ongoing daily power cuts due to electricity rationing. The update comes 3 weeks after specialist Sri Lanka tour operators said they remained cautiously optimistic about the summer. Experienced Travel Group and Travel Gallery, both ITO members and specialists in the island country, issued a joint statement which stated that advisory against essential travel was not yet a disaster for Sri Lankan tourism because it was issued during the low season. The summer season starts in July. They predicted the country would be great value for overseas visitors when advice was lifted following the depreciation of the Sri Lankan rupee against the US dollar. On Thursday, the TUI extended the cancellation of its Sri Lankan holidays until the end of this month.
The Meteorology Department warns of showers or thunder showers in parts of the island and rough seas in several areas across the island today. It has also requested the general public to take adequate precautions to minimize damage caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during the downpours.
The Department of Meteorology issuing its weather forecast for today stated that several spells of showers can be expected in the western, Sabaragamuwa and northwestern provinces and in the Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Matra districts. Meanwhile, it is expected that showers or thunder showers will occur at a few places in the Uva province and in Batticaloa and Ampara districts during the afternoon or night. The Met Department also cautioned that wind speeds could increase up to 40 km per hour at times in the northern, north central and northwestern provinces and in Trincomalee and Hambantota districts. The general public was also cautioned to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during the downpours. Further showers are expected to occur in several places in the sea areas of the coastline extending from Puttalam to Hambantota via Colombo, Galle and Mathura. It added that winds will be southwesterly with speeds between 30 to 40 km per hour. Further, it also warned that wind speeds could also increase up to 50 to 60 km per hour at times in the sea areas of the coast extending from Puttalam to Kankesanture via Mana and from Hambantota to Potubedi, it stated. Meanwhile, the department also warned of fairly rough seas in these areas.
US stocks have posted a major drop at the close of the week yesterday due to steep inflation reports. The S&P 500 lost 117 points or 2.91% to end at 3,900 points, while the Nasdaq Composite lost 414 points or 3.52% to end at 11,340. Meanwhile, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 880 points or 2.73% to close at 31,392.
US stocks ended down sharply yesterday and posted their biggest weekly percentage declines since January as a steeper than expected rise in US consumer prices in May fueled investor worries about more aggressive interest rate hikes by the Federal Reserve. Tech and growth stocks whose valuations rely more heavily on future cash flows led the decline. Microsoft Corp and Apple Incorporated were among the biggest weights on the S&P 500 and Nasdaq. Following the inflation report, benchmark 10-year US Treasury yields reached 3.152%, the highest since the 9th of May. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 lost 117.6 points or 2.91% to end at 3,900.76 points, while the Nasdaq Composite lost 414.202 points or 3.52% to 11,340.24. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 880 points or 2.73% to 31,392.79. The inflation report was published ahead of an anticipated second 50 basis points rate hike from the Fed next Wednesday. A further half percentage point is priced in for July with a strong chance of a similar move in September.
Oil prices sank yesterday after US consumer prices rose more than expected and China imposed new COVID-19 lockdown measures. Brent crude to end at $120.07 a barrel, while a barrel of West Texas Intermediate crude fell by $2.96 to $118.55. China's crude oil imports in May were up nearly 12% from a year earlier when they were low. Oil had risen more than $1 earlier in the session from fears of a potential disruption in supplies in Europe and Africa. Norway's oil output could be reduced if workers go on strike on Sunday, the Norwegian Oil and Gas Association said. Some 845 of roughly 7,500 employees on offshore platforms plan to strike from the 12th of June if annual pay negotiations fail. Meanwhile, the costs of fuel, food and other necessities jumped in the month of May, raising inflation in the United States to a new 4-decade high and giving American households no respite from rising costs. According to a statement by the country's Bureau of Labor Statistics yesterday, US inflation rate reached 8.6% in May, its highest level since December 1981.
The US has been grappling with rising prices since last year when an unexpectedly strong economic rebound from the shock of the pandemic, driven by large doses of US government spending, including direct checks to households, overwhelmed supplies, prompting companies to raise prices. In this backdrop, the US Department of Labor issued a statement yesterday stating that consumer prices surged 8.6% last month from 12 months earlier, faster than April's year-over-year surge of 8.3%. However, this was the largest year-on-year increase since December in 1981. Meanwhile, on a month-on-month basis, prices jumped 1% from April to May, indicating a steep rise from the 0.3% increase from March to April. In this backdrop, Russia's invasion of Ukraine has further accelerated the prices of oil and natural gas. And with China easing strict COVID lockdowns in Shanghai and elsewhere, more of its citizens are driving, thereby sending oil prices up even further. With that being the case, gasoline prices reached a grim milestone today as the national average for regular gasoline reached $5 a gallon. Rampant inflation in the US has imposed severe pressures on families, forcing them to pay much more for food, petrol and rent, and reducing their ability to afford discretionary items from haircuts to electronics.
And that's all the news we have for you tonight. We hope you join us tomorrow at the same time. Good night.